What turns a child into a suspect? This is a story about a girl who grew up completely alone in the marshes of North Carolina. And when a body turned up, decades later, everyone assumed they knew exactly who to blame. Imagine being 6 years old, watching your mother walk out the door without looking back. Then your siblings leave, one by one. Then your father disappears too. You're alone, in a cabin, in the wilderness, and you're still just a child. Kya Clark became known as the Marsh Girl. The town called her wild, dirty, dangerous. But when the golden boy of that same town was found dead, was she really guilty? Or was she just guilty of surviving? This is where the Crawdads sing. The marshes of North Carolina stretch out in endless green, filled with reeds, shells, and flocks of birds. To outsiders it looks like paradise, but for Kya it was a prison of painful memories. Her father was consumed by drink and anger. The house was filled with shouting and fear. One morning her mother walked out the door without looking back. Kya cried after her, but she never turned around. Soon after, her brothers and sisters left, one by one, escaping their father's rage. Her father became the only family she had left, and though he was harsh and broken, there were rare moments when he showed her glimpses of care. But just like the others, he too disappeared. From that moment, Kya was forced to learn how to survive on her own. Each morning, a small boat skimmed across the muddy waters. She gathered mussel shells and traded them at Jumpin and Mabel's store for food and fuel. They never asked too many questions. They just placed donated items into her hands and patiently taught her simple numbers. Their quiet kindness became a rare miracle in a town that scorned her. Kya once tried to attend school, but mocking laughter and cruel whispers of dirty and wild drove her away. From then on, her only classroom was nature itself. The marsh became her teacher. She learned to observe, to sketch, to record the living world around her. Her cabin walls soon filled with drawings and notes, resembling a small museum. In that space, she was no longer the outcast. She was a true naturalist. Amid her lonely childhood, Tate appeared like sunlight breaking across still waters. He was a friend of her brother, Jody, who once dared to shield Kya from her father's violence. Years later, Tate returned, leaving feathers, seeds, and little notes beneath a tree, forgetting that Kya couldn't yet read them. Patiently, he began teaching her, sound by sound, letter by letter. One day, as she stumbled across the names of her parents, the memory overwhelmed her. Tate quietly stayed beside her, helping her let go of the past. Summer turned into fall, and their reading lessons slowly became adventures of their own, chasing dragonflies glimmering in the sunlight, studying roots gripping tight to the mud, debating how nature adapts to survive. Amid the whispers and cruel gossip of the town, the bond between Kya and Tate grew quietly, as natural as the rising and falling of the tide. But Tate carried another dream, a college far beyond the borders of their small town. For Kya, the fear was unbearable. What if he left and never came back, just like the rest of her family? On his last day, Tate handed her a list of publishers, urging her to send her drawings and notes. It was his promise of another doorway, one where she would no longer be seen as the Marsh Girl, but as an author, a true naturalist. Clinging to that hope, Kya put on her best dress and went to the beach on the 4th of July, waiting for Tate. Fireworks exploded across the sky, painting the night in brilliant colors, yet on the cold sand, her lipstick blurred into tears. Tate never came back. Years later, Kya's manuscript received a response from a publisher, and her dream began to take shape. It was then that Chase Andrews entered her life, the golden boy of the town, charming in a showy way, full of promises that rang hollow. Still, Kya placed her fragile trust in him, perhaps out of fear of loneliness. At first, Kya thought she had found happiness in Chase. She opened her heart completely. But the illusion shattered when Kya discovered the truth. He was already engaged to someone else. The humiliation exposed Chase's true face, angry, violent. He came to her cabin, smashed things, and dragged Kya to the beach to unleash his fury. But Kya was no longer the fragile girl she once had been. Her survival skills saved her life in that desperate moment. Learning from her mother's fate, Kya told herself, "I cannot live my whole life in fear." She chose to stand tall. She continued working with the publisher, released her first book, earned enough to pay taxes, and officially claimed ownership of the marshland and the cabin she called home. Then one day, her brother returned and softly told her the truth. Their mother had passed on, but until her final moments, she still spoke of her children. The knowledge brought Kya a bittersweet peace. Not long after, Tate returned as well. With courage and regret, he came to face Kya, carrying the weight of having abandoned her years ago. Though the past could not be erased, his presence proved that someone truly believed in her. Then, in October 1969, disaster struck again. The town was shaken when Chase was found dead beneath the fire tower. At the scene, there were no clear clues, only a single thread of red fiber clinging to his jacket. Whispers spread quickly, and suspicion fell on Kya. When police later discovered a red cap in her cabin, they arrested her, without hesitation. Within the cold prison walls, Tom Milton sat across from Kya, his eyes steady yet warm. He didn't rush to question her, nor offer hollow comfort. Instead, he quietly placed a small notebook in her hands. In that moment, Tom understood he wasn't only defending an accused woman, but giving a wounded soul the chance to finally be heard. In court, the prosecution spun a story, but Tom countered with evidence: tide charts, an old report about the tower's faulty trapdoor, a witness who saw her board the bus. He urged the jury, judge on evidence, not on rumor. After 2 long sessions, the jury returned its verdict: not guilty. After the ordeal, Kya and Tate chose a quiet life together. They needed no recognition from the town, only the sound of waves brushing against the boat, the wind stirring the porch, and the pages of her manuscripts that stretched on through the years. Over time, the town ceased its scorn and slowly learned to respect, even admire, the Marsh Girl. Years passed, and Kya's hair turned silver. For Kya, who had known a lifetime of absence, Tate's choice to stay was the truest proof of love. When Kya finally left this world, Tate found her by the boat, her face peaceful. While sorting through her things, Tate discovered a hidden drawing of Chase, and with it, the shell necklace that had long been missing. The film left the necklace as an open question, but anyone who had listened to Kya speak about nature would understand. Nature has no dark side. It simply follows the law of survival. The message of this story doesn't lie in the question, who pushed Chase, but in a greater one. What will a community do to a child who has been abandoned? Today, take text for charter.